Shadow Financial Secretary to the Treasury.
Yeah, James Murray is here. James, thank you so much for speaking to us. Just on a personal level, how nervous are you about your own and your colleagues' security in going about your job as MPs?
Well, I think I get worried when I hear stories from other MPs right across the House about what they're facing in their constituencies. I think we all face it to an extent, but I know other MPs face it far worse than I do. I think what's really important is we make sure that obviously MPs are safe, but really crucially as well that our staff are safe, who are going about their business to try and support local people in the constituency, making sure that they're safe and carrying out their duties too.
I would really like to ask, James, it's lovely to have you on. Every time we have you on, there are three people stood behind you with the same sign. You don't bring them with you, my friend, do you? It's just as extra. Don't turn around. Just keep being professional. Can I ask you, that's security. We're going to talk...
I can't actually see what's behind me, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, don't turn around.
I'll watch on replay later to see what you're talking about.
There you go. We want to ask you about lots of things. Talk about council tax in a tick. The other big news story this morning, my friend, and we all know what's going on in the Middle East, we know what's going on in Ukraine, is this debate, apparently, over whether the Chancellor on March the 6th will give more for defence spending, currently 2.5% of our GDP. If I'm completely honest with you, growing up, Labour was deemed and seen differently to what it is now. I think every time you guys are on this show, it's polished, the message is strong, and I think the Tory party is failing massively. But I'd like to ask you directly, would the Labour government, if it's elected, would they make defence? Would they make that an important issue? Would they decrease it, increase it, with the view of what's happening in the world? What would Labour's stance be on defence spending?
Yeah, well, look, defence of our country, defence of our national security is at the heart of what we would do in government. The first duty of any government is to keep people safe, and that's why national security is front and centre to everything we would do. It's the foundation for government, I believe. So what we would do is make sure that we are supporting our armed forces. We said that on day one in a new government, if we won the next general election, we would launch a strategic defence and security review to work out what the threats are, what resources are needed to keep us safe, and that's what would guide us, because we need to look at what the threats are in the modern age and make sure that we've got the right resources and the right capacities in place to deal with them.
Fantastic.
Talking again about the MP security, Harriet Harman was saying yesterday, maybe MPs should go back to speaking, voting on Zoom. Do you think that's the right course of action?
Well, look, I was elected just before we went into lockdown, and so actually my first year or so as an MP was on Zoom, basically. So when I was contributing in Parliament, it was from a laptop at home, dialing into the Parliament. I felt I missed out on quite a lot of the benefit of how Parliament can work when it's working well by not being here physically. Those conversations with colleagues, that ability to engage in debate. Obviously, in my constituency, the ability not to meet constituents face to face, I think really held me back in the first year, if I'm honest. I think I really hugely benefit from meeting constituents face to face at surgeries, coffee mornings, going out and about, going to schools, going to residence groups, all the bread and butter of being an MP. I think that face-to-face interaction makes me a better MP, and I think anything that forces us to limit that and make us less accessible, less open, I think is bad for democracy.
James Murray, you are the Shadow Financial Secretary to the Treasury. The big thing that you wanted to talk about this morning was this accusation that Tory councils will rise. The council tax rises that they've been talking about are simply to wipe out the cut they've made from national insurance. Again, what would you do differently?
Well, if you look at what's happening right now, we are facing council tax increases across the country, and the truth is that those council tax increases are going to pretty much wipe out any cut in tax people might have got from the national insurance changes at the beginning of this year. And what this really points to for us is it's another broken promise from Rishi Sunak. His claim to be cutting taxes is not borne out by reality, and the truth is that we are on track to have the highest tax burden in 70 years. There have been 25 tax rises in this Parliament alone. People across the country are feeling the squeeze, and that's why we say we need our plan to get the economy growing to make people across Britain better off.
Just while you're here, we've been talking, the last couple of weeks about the upcoming by-election tomorrow in Rochdale. From the Labour Party, for Labour supporters, how should they vote tomorrow?
Well, look, I think what's really sad is that I have no recommendation for them. I think it's really sad that we have no Labour candidate in the by-election. You know, what Keir Starmer did was absolutely right in being decisive, in being tough, in taking a pretty unprecedented step in withdrawing support from the person who was the Labour candidate because of the anti-Semitic remarks that he made. You know, it was right for him to do that. But it does mean we're now going into a by-election without a Labour candidate. That's not a position I would ever want to be in, not being able to recommend how people should vote in a by-election. But that is the truth. And I think it shows just how seriously we and Keir Starmer and the Labour Party as a whole take the issue of anti-Semitism.
James, I know you're in a hurry this morning. I really appreciate it. Next time you come on, don't turn around, but when you do, don't bring them with you. James Murray.